Before he became the Dark Lord, before the One Ring, Sauron was something else entirely. He was beautiful, radiant, a being of order and mastery, not terror and ruin. He walked among the elves, not as a conqueror, but as a gift giver. He taught them craft, magic, the secrets of the Forge, and they loved him for it. They called him Annatar, Lord of Gifts. But it was all a lie, because beneath that fair form was Sauron, the second Dark Lord, the servant of Morgoth. And this form, the one he wore to deceive the greatest of the elves, was the most powerful shape he ever took. Not because it wielded brute force, but because it conquered without war. And when it lost, he could never take it again. Not because he wouldn't, but because he couldn't. Before he was known as Sauron, he did have another name, a name almost forgotten outside the deepest records of the Ainulindale. Mairon, the Admirable, a Maia, one of the lesser Ainur, but among the most powerful of his kind. He served Aule the Smith the valor of craftsmanship and creation. From him, Mairon learned order, structure, precision, and the secret joy of making things. Not just tools, but systems, hierarchies. He was drawn to design, to harmony, to control. But in time, that desire for order twisted into something darker. Because while Aule built in service of Ilúvatar's vision, Mairon began to crave dominion over it. He looked to Morgoth, Malkor, the great rebel, and saw in him a chance to reshape the world, not with chaos, but through will. Through fear, through the kind of enforced peace only power could bring. And so Mairon was lost, not with fire or battle, but with purpose. He became Morgoth's most trusted lieutenant, the second in command of all evil. But here's the thing, he never forgot what made him dangerous. He didn't just rule through force, he knew how to charm, to deceive, to appear noble even when he was poisoning the world from within. That gift of appearance, of persuasion, would become his deadliest weapon, and he would wield it in a form so beautiful, the elves never saw the darkness beneath it. When Morgoth was cast into the void and the First Age came to a close, Sauron went into hiding. He knew he couldn't conquer the world through force, not yet, so instead he chose a mask. A disguise so perfect, so radiant, so persuasive that even the High Elves welcomed him. He called himself Annatar, the Lord of Gifts, and in this form he didn't strike with sword or flame, he offered knowledge. To the elves of Eregion, he brought new secrets of craftsmanship and magic. Under his guidance, they forged the Rings of Power. They believed him to be a friend, a bringer of wisdom, a messenger of the Valar. Only a small few distrusted him, Gil-galad in Lindon, and Galadriel most of all. But even they could not stop what was coming, because in the form of Annatar, Sauron achieved what Morgoth never could. He walked freely among his enemies and made them his tools. This wasn't brute domination, this was corruption perfected. And that is why this was Sauron's most powerful form. Not because it could destroy armies, but because it didn't need to. It built the very weapons that would one day bring Middle-earth to the edge of ruin. And yet, he would never wear this face again. Because when his deception was revealed, when the elves discovered who Annatar truly was, Sauron lost more than his disguise. He lost the ability to ever be that form again. When the elves rejected him and the war of the elves and Sauron began, Annatar, the golden, beautiful guise, was cast aside. He no longer needed to seduce. Now he would conquer. But something deeper changed, because when Sauron turned to open domination, he began to lose something he could never regain. And then came to Númenor, the mightiest kingdom of men, blessed by the Valar. Sauron allowed himself to be captured, but not as a prisoner, as a poison. He rose to become the king's chief counselor, and from within he corrupted the island from soul to stone. He turned a proud people towards shadow and pride, and in the end he urged them to wage war against the Valar themselves. It was the single most catastrophic act of evil in the Second Age. And when the Valar responded, Númenor was drowned beneath the sea. The island was broken, and Sauron's body, the body he had worn since Annatar, was utterly destroyed. But more than that, his spirit was scarred. Tolkien wrote that from this point on, Sauron could never again assume a fair form. His ability to appear beautiful, to cloak himself in light and lies, was gone. Forever. He returned to Middle-earth not as Annatar, but as something darker. He built Barad-dûr, forged the ring anew, raised armies of orcs and trolls. But he would never again be loved, never again be trusted, only feared. And so, Sauron's most powerful form, the one that nearly conquered the world through deception, was lost, not just in appearance, but in function. Because from that moment on, Sauron could no longer corrupt with beauty, only with domination. Meaning, by the time of the Third Age, the name Annatar had long faded into a forgotten whisper. Sauron no longer wore a body of beauty or walked among his enemies in secret. Now, he was a shadow on the land, a towering will rooted in Barad-dûr, a presence that could be felt, not touched, and in the minds of men and elves, he became one symbol, the Eye, a lidless eye rimmed in flame, unblinking, searching, watching. And now to be clear, obviously of course, Tolkien never stated that the Eye was Sauron's literal form, but it wasn't just a metaphor either. The Eye represented what Sauron had become, a will of domination, a force bound to the One Ring. He was no longer concerned with beauty nor deception. He was sight itself, focused, patient, and utterly without mercy. He couldn't shapeshift anymore, that ability drowned with Númenor. He had poured so much of himself into the ring, into his need to control, that he could no longer truly exist without it. He had become incomplete. And so the Eye, in all its terror, wasn't just what he used to watch the world. It was all that remained of him, a fragment of a being who had lost everything he once was. No fair form, no disguise, only domination through fear. Sauron's transformation was complete, not into a monster of flesh, but into a force of control. And yet, for all its reach, the Eye could not hide the truth. Sauron had once been more. He had once conquered without war, and that was the power he would never reclaim. And so, there we have it. Sauron's most powerful form wasn't a giant eye or a towering warlord. It was the beautiful mask he wore to fool the world. Annatar, the Lord of Gifts. Because when he could walk among the elves and twist their hearts with a smile, he didn't need armies. But once that mask was burned away, Sauron lost more than his form. He lost his greatest weapon. But now it is your turn. Which version of Sauron do you think was the most dangerous? Do you agree it was Annatar, the Deceiver? Or do you think his tyrant form was in fact the more powerful one? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. And along with this, if you would like to support the channel in other ways, please consider our Patreon. You can't always rely on YouTube itself, so this extra support will really help the channel stay strong and keep us getting that content out for you. But with that, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.